Hello, welcome to the Wedding Reporter podcast. Today we have a friend of mine, James DiNanno with Meritage DJs, and today we're going to talk about creating a memorable wedding reception. And I'll start off by reading a quick bio about Meritage. Meritage Entertainment was founded by a husband and wife team, James and Liz DiNanno. Their carefully crafted team of artists offer a new approach for the modern couple. With over 10 years of wedding experience, the team has developed unique music and lighting techniques, and they will keep your guests having fun all night without being cliche or cheesy. Huge plus. Their DJs and lighting experts will understand the vision you have for your special day and deliver. So, welcome, James.
Thank you. That's the best I've ever heard that. You make that sound better than me saying it. So thanks for the hyped up intro.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you because, this is your topic. You know how to throw a party. You have an amazing DJ company, and you're so specific about the DJs that you hire. And so I just want to hear all of your expertise to brides, couples out there who are looking to hire a DJ. So let's start from the beginning, though. How did you find yourself in the DJ business?
Yeah, my story's probably not that uncommon with DJs. I grew up so my dad, for a little while, was playing in a band that was pretty active, and him and the drummer were starting to have families. I came along, screwed everything up with the band dreams. No. But just sort of transitioning into not wanting to deal with all the things that come from playing in an active band all the time, but loving music. So him and the drummer started getting into DJing. And that's one of my first memories, was going along to them and doing events and seeing weddings. And I got to know other DJs in the industry. I also have professional musicians in my family and circle. One of my relatives is actually in Nashville. He used to play piano in Kenny Rogers. So just sort of always surrounded by musicians and DJs, everything music. So I was always fascinated with that. I was probably about 4 or 5 when I got my first DJ system, and it was like legit at the time. It was a system you could get with like the double CDJs and full collection. So I would DJ and record myself on an old boombox and be like my own radio host, and
that's awesome.
Was doing that early on. Very active in bands too, though. So when I was in my early teens, that sort of took a lead. I was always DJing, but I thought, oh, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a drummer in an active rock band. And I did that for quite some time, but the DJing always existed too. And when I really discovered what it felt like to DJ at a wedding and really bring forth what the couple actually envisions, rather than like, this is what every wedding DJ does, that's when it clicked. And I was like, I really have a passion for this. I've always had that hunger for bringing the actual art of music into things, which drumming, playing in a band, writing original music, you get to do that. So I think in my early teens, that's what I struggled with, is I was like, DJing can't really do that, but you absolutely can. And that is my passion, is bringing those two things together, because I think that's really needed for couples. And we've seen the results time and time again when they're getting someone that really cares about creating their vision. As cliche as that sounds, like when you actually put forth the effort and stay present with the crowd to do that, it's very rewarding, and it gives them the day that they deserve. So kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, that was great. I'm excited to dive into all that. That's really awesome. So tell us a little bit more about Meritage. I know you just expanded to a new city, and you're in Nashville, you're in New England. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Wakefield, Mass. So that's just a little over 10 miles outside of Boston. And I've lived here most of my life. So built up the first team we built up was in New England. And when the brand just took off, which I'm so grateful for, there were a couple things that we really connected with for couples, where I was constantly talking to people with a sense of relief, and they would see us at weddings, and we would have people at the end of weddings, like when we first started. It still happens, but now a lot of people that see us already know about our company. But when this was fresh, there were so many people that were like, whoa, how do I book you right now for my wedding? Now we talk to them and they're like, oh, we booked you a couple months ago. But when we first started and I was seeing that kind of intense reaction and people on the phone, like, I'm so relieved that you guys aren't over the top on the microphone, and you
Right.
actually know who these outside of the box artists are that you wouldn't hear typically at a wedding, like, what that is. I
Mhm.
realized, like, we're really speaking to something here and having like a younger, more modern team. So then I
Yeah.
connected with Ryan Key from Yellow Card. During the pandemic,
Mhm.
we were working on a music project together,
That's so
and
cool.
we talked about it, and he's like, yeah, your brand would definitely work great in Nashville. And I thought that he would be
Mhm.
representative of what we're all about. So we helped build Nashville together.
Yeah.
Um, and then again, just seeing that, oh, there's a need for that. And one of my DJs in New England is good friends with a DJ named Nico Oso. He's an
Mhm.
iHeartRadio personality too in Philly. He's like a very known personality in Philly.
Yeah.
And he confirmed there, like, oh, this needs to be there. So
Wow.
basically what happens is when we see that there's a market where we've got that connection, where it's a core person that represents some of the unique things we're looking for, and we
Mhm.
feel that we can establish that consistent team, we'll do that. We're developing in Austin, Texas right now too, but I really take my time with it,
Cool.
because the more we do it, the more I just understand that we've got such a specific mission, and not everyone can do this. I've performed at over 1,000
Mhm.
weddings. I'm always humbled to see that people are still just dying to book me. And
Mhm.
I realize more and more that to get all those little details just right can be hard to find in a wedding DJ. So
Mhm.
just as many times as I can help establish teams that will represent what we're all about well in that market, we'll continue to do that. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you guys have set yourself up as a company where it's like you guys are like the cool DJs to hire. Like it's like with Ryan on your team and everything from Yellow Card, it's like you kind of have that like rock background, and like the people that you choose to have on your DJ team like have that musical background. Like a lot of them are musicians, and so they understand music in a different way than maybe somebody else who works at a DJ company does. And so I think that like really gives you guys the edge. And it's like I feel like you guys are so chill to work with too, where it's like, the couples that you work with might be like pretty laid back, but like also pretty specific about like what music they want at their weddings. And but also like when it comes to the party, like that's when you guys bring the party, but you do it in such a professional way where it's not like, you know, it's just really professional with like the gear that you guys use, and just like you said, you're not talking on the mic the whole time. And so I think just all of those qualities combined, it's like couples, once they find you, they're like, finally, like you said, like you're here, and I want to hire you because I'm not finding that anywhere else. So I think it's really cool, just the expansion of the cities, that you are bringing this different dynamic of DJing to those cities, which is really cool. um
yeah, we definitely keep a modern edge to what we're doing. It helps to have a
Mhm.
younger team. I've always said to myself that, when I hit that age where I start feeling that I'm resisting new music trends, or that I'm not ahead of it. Like, I don't
Mhm.
foresee, like, oh, this is coming. Because that's been something that's always been a strength for me, is I've been lucky enough to see where music is going. And all three of the teams, we sort of feel that same thing, where we've got our different group texts, and, usually people around the same time are like, what do you think about this? Or when do you think this
Mhm.
song's going out? And like, it's time to bring this one in, or like, what do you think of this trend? So we're still
Mhm.
very much ahead of the curve because we're passionate about it. And I do think
Yeah.
there is a thing that happens where I've seen it. There's really talented DJs that get burnt out, and because of that burnout, they're not adapting, but they're like, oh, this is what I do. So they keep doing it. And it's a disservice to them and to the couples, you know?
For
So
sure.
I've always told myself if I ever hit that point, that's when I won't be serving this mission anymore. So I'll step back.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're really passionate about staying ahead on all of that stuff and adapting to what the couple is looking for. There's definitely
Mhm.
traditionally in the wedding industry a rigid way of like, this is the only way that you do this.
Yeah.
And why is that the case? Like, certainly
Mhm.
there are things that will create results, positive or negative, and you can inform
Mhm.
your couple that like, hey, once a dance floor opens up, doesn't really make sense to do a cake cutting 20 minutes into
Right.
dancing, because when you're buzzing and you're picking up that momentum, who wants to hear on the mic, hey, stop dancing and watch these guys cut a piece of cake, you know? So we'll
Yeah.
always be honest about that stuff. But we just booked
Mhm.
a wedding where the couple was like lounge vibes all day. Like we just
So
want it to
cool.
be relaxed, past hors d'oeuvres, only a first dance, nothing else, not even toasts. And some
Wow.
people might resist that sort of lack of timeline, but that's something we're comfortable with, is adapting to what each couple envisions. And I think that truly
Mhm.
is um, being modern with it. So
Oh yeah, for sure. So today we're talking about, how to create a memorable wedding reception. So what are some ways that Meritage does that? I know you guys are pretty full service as far as like equipment and everything goes. So, I know you also mentioned that like really working one-on-one with the couple and figuring out what it is that they want and catering to that. Like you said, the lounge sort of vibes, that was something totally out of the box and different. It's like you guys are up for doing that. So, how do you create that memorable reception?
it's, in some ways it's a little different every time, and in
Yeah.
others it's not. But if I was to try and sum it up, being present, like being fully
Mhm.
present at that wedding, knowing the couple, like knowing the little nuances, knowing the overall vibe that they want. It's one thing to look on a list and see that like this couple doesn't like country music. Funny enough, so many of our Nashville couples, that's the number one thing they list on the do not playlist is country music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's one thing to know, oh, they don't like country and they really love this. It's another
Mhm.
thing to dig deeper and say, like, okay, what concerts have you guys been to recently? Is there any song that brings you
Mhm.
back to college? And what's more important, like, what are you thinking of? Is this going to turn out into like an all-out rager where it's 3 hours of dancing and jumping all around, or is this that lounge
Mhm.
vibe? Like, what do you guys do? You learn more about who that couple is so that you can represent them well day of, and then you watch their crowd too. One of the things that I'm talking about nonstop here is being present in the moment and watching that body language in the room and picking up on like, oh, this group of guests over here, they love Motown. Like they started bopping to that, and they're a little bit
Mhm.
more reserved, where this is like the louder group in the room. And you want to try to figure out who all these groups of people are and pay attention to their reactions. And then you just keep building off that. I think
Mhm.
if you have any sort of entertainer that wants to invest in that way and has enough music knowledge where they're comfortable truly just immersing themselves in that room with all those people, you will get great results.
Oh yeah. I think that's a really cool point too, is like, yes, the couple will give you the songs that they want played and, their must-haves and you have to play those and kind of their vibe of of what they like, but there are also like what 100, 200 more people at the wedding too who might enjoy, like you said, this group over here loves Motown, so like let's get them out on the dance floor. So I think that's such a cool like way of thinking for a DJ to notice those things and to be present, like you said, throughout the time, just to make sure you're kind of including everybody in the whole party. And I know a lot of people do the whole thing like play all the rap songs at the end, like once my grandma leaves, sort of a thing. And like, so it's like everyone kind of has their own vibe and things like that, and it's really cool to see, I'm sure, just like with all the different weddings that you do, like how different they really are, and like how high energy some people might be, and like maybe are some a little more low energy, but like you guys can bring the energy and kind of control that in a way depending on what songs you are playing during that time. So it's a really cool thing that you guys do.
Yeah, and the energy, like you said, is so important. I was just talking
Mm-hmm.
to a Nashville couple 2 days ago. It was
Nice.
they have like 60 people that are going to be at the wedding, and they
Awesome.
want to dance. But I was bringing up with them, you have DJs that sometimes are pretty stock in the way that they approach everything. So if you have
Yes.
someone that's on the mic just screaming like it's 200 people in a room, and out of 10 when you've got 60 people that are a little more reserved, that is going to
Mhm.
make them less likely to dance because there's this
Oh,
disconnect, right?
yeah,
It's like this
for
guy is
sure.
way over the top, this is too much. So having someone again that can be present in the moment there and be like, you know what, usually I bring a little more energy, but I'm going to dial it back a little more, and I'm going to ease these people into dancing too. Like maybe when the dance music starts, you don't come out the gate with like a super up tempo dance song. Maybe you're easing it in
Mhm.
with like some R&B hip hop that you can cruise to or whatever it might be. But all these
Mhm.
things, being very in tune with the energy in the crowd, how many people are there, all that stuff. It's so important.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, as far as trends, we've kind of touched on this a little bit here and there. Like, what are some trends that you're seeing? Like, you did say about that lounge wedding, which was pretty cool, but like, what are couples requesting a lot from you lately?
Private Last Dance, that was big
Wow,
last
yeah.
year. I imagine it's still gonna stick around. I've been seeing it. In New England, the weather's not great right now, so
Mhm.
the weather sucks. It's 30 degrees. Um,
Yes.
so there's a little bit less opportunity because sometimes they love that they've got the scenic venue where you can have that
Right.
private last dance under the tent or on the deck or something like that. But I think that'll stick around this year. Um,
Mhm.
I also think venues will encourage that because if we're just talking from a logistical standpoint, venues love it because it's a great way to obligate all of the drunk guests to quickly get out of the
Yes.
space. Hey, the couple's going to do their
That's
private
so
last dance.
great.
So I imagine that may have been why it came to exist. So many of those things do, but that's
Mhm.
that's very common. And I think just we're going to continue venturing further towards couples that are aware that there isn't a single way that a wedding has to go. And I
Mhm.
think I'm finding couples are more confident in speaking up about we feel this way about XYZ, where in the past it's been more like this is just how it goes. So
Right.
and I think that's great.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that's really cool that couples are finally realizing, like, and taking that advice, like, it is your day. Do your thing and do the things that you love that make it unique. And I think that is what truly makes a memorable wedding reception, too. Um, yeah, let's dive in. What are some like go-to songs that people will like get people out on the dance floor? Like for you.
I get asked this question all the time, and it really is, I don't want to not give you an answer. but it
Mhm.
really is different for every
Yeah.
single crowd. I will say that I think this is what you're looking for. So I will say that
Okay.
if for someone that knows nothing about DJing, right, and they can't actually
Mhm.
read a room, there are those
Mhm.
obvious things where if there is a group of people that um were in high school and college in the mid 2000s that and
Mhm.
they like going to bars and rock music, then obviously you lived under a rock if you don't know Mr. Brightside and Sugar We're Going Down. And if you liked hip
Mhm.
hop, then Waka Flocka and Drake. So there's these very
Yeah.
obvious things. If you like Motown, then like the Temptations, that's just such an obvious go-to.
Mhm.
So there are these things where if people like a certain category, you just know, oh, these songs are going to resonate. But at the same time, that's a very dangerous thing because a lot of DJs will just say, here's my 50 just surefire songs that always work. And that's why people are so unbelievably sick of Bruno Mars and Pitbull,
Mhm.
because they've
Yes,
gone to
yes.
weddings where it's been like, okay, what 7 Bruno Mars songs are we going to hear? What 10 Black Eyed Peas
Right.
and 13 Pitbull songs? Where more so for me, um, and all of the DJs in Meritage, we live in this in between where those songs, those artists absolutely serve a great purpose. When
Yeah,
we have
for
couples
sure.
that tell us or list on their do not playlist, like, no Bruno Mars, Pitbull, Black Eyed Peas, Drake, like, and they basically just list every big artist that ever existed, or every big artist that's existed in the past 15 years or whatever it
Right.
might be, or nothing before the 90s. Like we'll see stuff like that, and I actually will call those couples, or the DJ will, and say,
Yeah.
you're really going to alienate a big group of people here. And
Mhm.
we think you're listing this because you've been to weddings where it's been the nonstop Bruno Mars show, because they
Yeah.
definitely see that where it's like we've literally heard 8 Bruno Mars songs. That's super
Yeah.
annoying. There's so much music to cover. And I think that's someone that's
Mhm.
just like cashing it in and letting a stock playlist run. But there's
Right.
an in between to be found where if you play one or two very well known songs like that as a thing to bring people together, and then from there you go in an interesting direction, it's great. So those artists serve a purpose because they
Mhm.
bring people together. But then from that point, it's up to the DJ to say, all right, I'm not just gonna play only the typical things. Now that I have everyone together, I want to give them an experience and go in different, unique directions that represent this crowd. So,
Mhm. I think that's a perfect answer to that question. Like you said, everyone's different. And yeah, you can't just alienate all of the major songs because then that's going to alienate your crowd from the dance floor. And so, yeah, just being thoughtful about it and, getting a good variety in there is probably a really good go-to. So, let's talk about songs that you shouldn't play at weddings. Are there certain songs that people request that you're like, we should probably steer away from that?
yes. Um, Funny enough, every year we seem to have a few couples that will pick like a breakup song or a song. Like
Oh
there was a
no.
couple that picked a Pearl Jam song about death is their first dance. And I just had to let them know, like, have you guys looked at these lyrics? And what
Yeah.
usually ends up happening is you can have these songs about end of life or something like that as a topic, or a breakup song where it's like they listen and, oh, this is a soft song, this singing is beautiful, and they might pick up on like little phrases, like certain breakup songs will start with a happy first verse, right? But it's like the story of things going wrong. So there's been times where I've needed to be like, hey, just letting you know. And usually the email
Mhm.
response is like, Oh my God, thank you so much for pointing that
You
out. And
saved us. Thank
yeah,
you.
actually, every time that's come up, that's
Yeah.
what it's been. I also had one where, this was a bizarre one. A mother picked a song for where that she wanted to dance to with her son, and it was a song about the mother, like how much she loved her daughter. And that was
Oh,
one where I was like,
interesting.
I'm gonna have
Okay.
I forget what the lyrics were exactly, and I forget what the song was, but again, it was one of those things where she was hearing certain lines and she probably was just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I love this one lyric and this artist," and then
Right.
disregarded the rest.
Didn't take the
But
full picture in.
yeah, and the funny thing too is the groom was like looked like a wrestler, like jacked up dude with like the big beard and everything. So very
Yeah.
fun. But I pointed it out to him, and he's like, now he's like, yeah, my mom's in not. Let me see. And th- that was a weird one because I pointed it
Yes.
out, and he's like,
Mhm.
she's insistent on it, and it was
They still went
very
with it. Oh,
still went with
wow.
it. It was a very weird moment, and people were definitely like, what is going on a little bit.
Oh,
And
man.
I as a precursor was like, this is a song that mom picked out that she loves, for them to dance to, so they're not like this DJ
Right.
screwing up. um
Right,
and
yeah.
the groom
For
kind of
sure.
wanted that set up for it too, but that was a
Mhm.
really bizarre
That's
one.
good.
So I'll always
Yeah.
like, we're all very aware of lyrics and stuff like that in general.
Mhm.
um Songs to stay away from. You just gotta know, like Pumped Up Kicks, when that song first came out, that's like very dark song. That's another one of
Yeah.
those, everyone hears the, fun, whistly indie thing, and I think it's even in commercials, but that's
Yeah.
a very dark, like school shooting. No, you
Yeah,
don't want that
faster
in
than
your
my
wedding.
bullet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
For sure.
so there's songs like that. Anything else that, oh, when WAP came out, of course, I thought that sort of like
Mhm.
hit the threshold of like, this is just really not the way to go.
Yeah.
I might be a little bit unique and maybe strict with the brand of this company, but I've told all the DJs, like, we are being seen by 200 people in a room. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty insistent on clean versions and staying
Yeah.
away from
That's
things.
smart.
There's not many songs, but that was just one where I'm like, you can't edit it enough.
Yeah.
Same
For
thing with,
sure.
I'll tell the guys like DMX. We'll see that come on a must playlist. And you just really, that's not something we won't do, but that's more one where like you really have to know the moment to do it and if it's the right crowd for it. If you've got
For
kids
sure.
and, people over
Mhm.
50, and there's very religious components at the wedding, even if you're playing a clean version, it's just so aggressive that you're gonna
Yeah.
throw someone off. So again, just
Oh,
awareness.
yeah.
Um
Yeah. For sure. I think that's a great way to answer that question. I feel like some weddings I've been to, there's just like a lot of mid-tempo songs where I'm like, I don't know how to dance to this. Like, is it a slow dance or is it like a fast dance? And
yeah,
so there's sometimes some of that a little bit. I mean, those are great for like, cocktail hour or like during dinner or whatever. But yeah,
that
I agree with that too. I
that's a
actually went
big thing.
to, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I want to hear this.
Oh, so I went to Pilgrimage Music Festival, which is right by my house, and the Lumineers were playing, and they played, that song that like all the wedding couples like
Oh,
dance
hey.
to, the first song, and they before they played it, they said, "So we know so many people come up to us and say this was their wedding song, but it is actually a breakup song, and we wanted all of you to know that." Is like how they started the intro to that song. And I was like, yeah, that's
that,
awesome.
that
That
is so
like
funny.
you explained it. Like you said, there's just those couple lines that can be sweet, but it's like it's actually about a terrible car accident, like something. And
Yeah, there's a lot of
you
songs
know,
like that. And I mean, separately as an artist, I've actually always gravitated towards those artists that like make these really happy sounding songs, but they're talking about something super dark or painful. Like that
Hmm.
dichotomy and tension is cool in music. But funny enough,
Yeah,
Mr.
for sure.
Brightside is I don't know if
Yeah.
you know this, but that's a song
Yeah.
about him finding out his fiance's cheating on him. And when you
Yeah,
listen to the lyrics,
totally.
it's like very obvious. But that's one of those
Hmm.
ones. It also depends where in the night the um the song is falling too, you know. Um,
Hmm.
so for everyone singing Mr. Brightside, you know, that just as one example, I don't think if you're gonna go to a wedding and be on the dance floor and think about the context of every song, come on. You know, it's one thing
Yeah,
if
right.
I
Yeah.
would recommend that DJs are aware of like, oh, I shouldn't be playing breakup songs during dinner. Like I
Hmm.
think during that
Yeah.
time you should avoid it. Any sort of formality if there's something weird like that. But once it's dancing time, I think the focus pivots to like just what's great music that keeps everyone together.
Hmm.
I do have more
Right. What's
exceptions.
fun?
So Gold Digger, I think, is just I mean, Kanye especially right now is a tough one to go near. I
Hmm.
do slightly
Very
controversial, but
polarizing.
I feel we're sort of on the side of like separate the artist from the music unless the couple
Yeah.
feels otherwise. Like we do
Hmm.
feel that couples that are sensitive to certain artists because of who they are, they'll list that out.
Right.
One that I
Hmm.
personally just always stay away from is R. Kelly because I feel like it's just not going to
Yeah.
be missed, and that one's just a little bit too like oof.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but like
that's true.
Gold Digger, aside from who Kanye is, that one just feels a little too uncomfortable to drop at a wedding, especially if like you're in a really nice venue or something like that. So that's one that I
Yeah,
told the
for
DJs, I'm
sure.
like, why gamble it? Like, yeah, it might be a song that they love,
Yeah.
but play Good Life by Kanye instead if you have to drop. Like if they're like, oh, we love Kanye, drop that one instead, you know?
Right. Yeah, definitely is a touchy subject. There's a lot you have to pay attention to as a DJ. So, those are all like such great advice. And I think, especially for couples who are going into that phase of, hey, I'm looking to book a DJ now, like these are all like such great things and important things that you do need to think about because your wedding reception is probably the biggest part of your wedding, the longest part of your wedding for most weddings. And so, um, thank you so much for coming on today and just giving us all of your insight. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with?
No, that this was a lot of fun. You're the best.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be on here and appreciate everything you do too, and just helping all the uh, all the couples in the Nashville community. You do a great thing. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah, thanks. And we'll put a link to Meritage in the show notes and just make sure you guys follow them on Instagram if you're in any of the four cities that they're currently in. Definitely check them out, hire them as your wedding DJ. So thanks, James. Have a good one.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedding Reporter podcast. I hope you learned a little bit and had fun today. To find more resources and podcast episodes, visit NashvilleBrideGuide.com for more information. And as always, click the subscribe button and leave us a review. Until next time, I'm Alyssa DeChico, signing off.